Zalivas, this is SuperZOMGBBQ, and today we're going to talk about a lot of the things that have gone on in the past, I'd say week and a half. Yes, we're talking about it. We're talking about all of the problems that Season 4 has had since it launched, and it launched over a week and a half ago to much fanfare, much anticipation, and unfortunately there have been times it has let us, the players, down. But to be able to compare it, we need to look at the launches of SuperCard Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, and of course Season 4. All of the problems that have been compiled together with some old school footage of the old school gameplay for Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, and Season 4. And also then I'm going to give my honest opinions at the end based on the facts that we've got in front of us. Before we start though, I do need to just stress that I don't work for Cat Daddy Games or 2K Games in any way, shape or form. I'm giving you my personal opinion based on the information I know and the facts that are available through evidence and through other forms such as YouTube, Twitch, and my experience in the game. And I think as well that might clear up just a few catcalls that come in the comment section every so often of people saying I get everything for free. Spoiler alert, I don't. But if you like this video, I want to see this kind of analysis thing more often, smash the like button as hard as you can with a spear and a Superman punch. In fact, do a super spear, you know, off the top rope and spear him, or Superman punch him. Whatever you want to do. And make sure whilst you're there to subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, and let's get right into just how broken is Season 4 of WWE SuperCard. We need to look back at Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3 first of all. And I'm going to specifically look at the start of the game. Not the end, not the middle. We're going to look at the first month or two of the game, an absolute most. And I'm going to start with Season 1. Something a lot of retro players have said is the best season of SuperCard ever. I have my own personal opinion. But Season 1 started off as obviously a brand new game, WWE SuperCard. It was the first WWE property to use the new logo, which has got the kind of very straight, not the scratch logo. It was to ditch the old logo. So Season 1 started, as you may not be aware, with only Exhibition and King of the Ring. That was it. You played Exhibition, you played King of the Ring. I can show you those cards now. They're actually now in the Legacy cards. You had everyone that's on the screen now. So your Legacy Common, Uncommon, Rare, Super Rare, Ultra Rare, Epic, and Legendary. Now there were no events initially in SuperCard Season 1. In fact, Season 1 had no events until a John Cena and Brock Lesnar concept event called PCC, People's Champion. Now it wouldn't be unfair of me to say that Season 1 was very much based around elite players and people who would go further than they probably should to get some of the best cards available. For example, if I show you this legendary Legacy Brock Lesnar, this is the card I am talking about, plus Andre the Giant. There's many, and this is just one of the cards that people were fighting for. Now the first PCC, when it was introduced, there was no other events, there was no PvP, it was just all like AI, it was all computer side, so it was easily manipulated. There was, you know, it was so simple to win in Season 1. In fact, it wasn't so much based on whether you could win or lose, it's how many points you could score and if you could outscore someone else, which put people with jobs and other things, you know, it really started to take over people's lives. I'm not going to judge Season 1 for that. I'm going to judge it purely based on what was available at the start, and that Brock Lesnar card was the first event card. Now, to get a pro of that event card, you needed to finish #1 in the world. Otherwise, I believe it was the top 5 to 800. I don't know exactly. It actually might even be 400. Got themselves a single Brock Lesnar, which, you know, it was helpful at the time, but as time went on, that kind of became almost irrelevant. In fact, the days of having an event every single week just weren't there in Season 1. An event every week only came in when Road to Glory came out in December, and you might know how that went, and that's not very good. But talking specifically about the beginning, biggest issue was there was no pity pool. It was completely random. If you opened packs, you got yourself some cards, you wanted to pro it, there's no set resets. There was no pity pool. It was, you just play and 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 play, and no, I'm not joking, you just keep playing. Some people did as many as 5,000 resets with no pulls off the board that were in their tier. People are getting to legendary tier and waiting 10,000 games for a pull. It was absolutely ludicrous. But they also brought in a bunch of other changes, including some very, very controversial stat changes to female cards specifically, which did render a lot of female cards people had. And this is one of my biggest issues about changing the stats of cards, which thankfully SuperCard don't do anymore. The people had some amazing, amazing cards. Now, I don't know the specifics of these stat changes, but I do know that several female cards would change stats, which obviously would have annoyed quite a few people. And it was done seemingly like this with no warning. It was just, there we go. But they didn't increase the current stats of the cards, they just reduced the ones to make them less overpowered, and didn't tell anyone until it actually happened. The pack rate on the Epic to Legendary Original Season 1 cards were also really poor. I mean, literally, you had to spend upwards of $1,000, probably $1,000 plus, to even get yourself close to Legendary tier. Maybe you could argue that's how it should be to increase longevity, but given today's pack pools, those who wish to spend money on the game probably would have had an absolute mare getting to Legendary tier back in Season 1. And of course, you did have waiting on network. As the game grew in popularity, the server started to struggle, and you had King of the Rings that gave you pros of cards, which meant that the guys who were on top stayed at the top, because the person below them who finished second would get a legendary card but wouldn't get a pro. If they weren't lucky like the other person got, and it was just down to specific stat calls, there were people running around with stupidly overpowered decks, which at the time frustrated a lot of players. And a lot of the issues with Season 1 didn't really get fixed or kind of changed or tweaked until they released Survivor tier in November, where events became more common, where they introduced Road to Glory, and then they introduced WrestleMania tier in the March-April time, and then introduced Ring Domination then. But now we move on to Season 2. I mean, Season 1 was a ludicrously simple game compared to how the game is now. Season 2. Now, when Season 2 launched, we got the infamous words, "Let's talk on Monday." And there's a reason why these cards are called legacy cards, because SuperCard Season 2 made pretty much every single one of these cards null and void. You got a small boost in the game, but it was very limited because the amount of cards you could transfer from Season 1 to Season 2 were not so great. They went down the FIFA route of basically not allowing you to bring all of your cards over, which annoyed everyone, especially the fact that with other games like My NBA, they gave months and months of notice. With SuperCard, they gave everyone 2 days. Plus repeated calls from the community manager at the time and the developers stating that a SuperCard Season 2 was not a thing. It was just going to carry on, and we're going to get more and more tiers and more game modes, and then Season 2 came in. Now, Season 2 in its infancy was actually really good. It was a really strategic game, but straight away you put people's backs up by basically not allowing people to have access to their cards anymore, and limited extra images, an entire catalogue of images, and I'll show you. Let's go to active cards. Let's go to Super Rare. 348 and 296 cards. Look at all these cards that you can no longer get. It's absolutely amazing. They never made the Loyalty Fusion Chamber. I don't know for what reason. They never made that infinite. Imagine putting a lot of time and effort into a game only to be told, yeah, you got to start all again now. And there was no warning. You just, now you got your cards. No, you don't. There was the promise of Season 1 events that never happened. And they also took a very big risk, which didn't pay off, by reducing every single fusion in SuperCard, this is Season 1 fusion, down to 0 credits, when they were charging up to 15,000 for one card previously, only a day before. Now, these cards weren't completely lost. You could play them in Season 1, which is like a separate game inside Season 2. But there was no events, there was no reason to do it. There was barely any cards you could pull, which you didn't pull already. You had the old Season 1 King of it. It was just a mess. A complete mess. And whoever decided that those were good decisions, wow. The way it was carried out, maybe as an idea, was a great idea. Execution was much to be desired. But the good things, we started Season 2 with 3 events straight away. Ring Domination, PCC, and Road to Glory, which was retired until the 4th week in. I remember that first Sting Road to Glory. But was the damage already done? Well, even more damage was done, not just to people's confidence in the game, but also to people's batteries. Yes, Season 2 was launched with several battery issues, and in fact, it was almost impossible to play the game for long periods of time in warm areas or warm countries on Android or iPhones. I remember personally being in Naples one weekend playing the game, and it overheated and almost burned my hand. How hot the game had made my battery and my phone, and in some cases it did render some phones much worse in condition than when it first started, which was fixed quite quickly to their credit. It also consumed battery like nothing else. It literally was like one of those really badly built apps, drains your battery and uses the data like all the time. It just wasn't that great at the start. The network was okay, it wasn't terrible, and in fact it's probably the best in terms of the game, the best it was for a long time. I mean, they didn't have so many things straining the network, but you know, they didn't have team events and whatnot at that time. They got brought in later on in the year, but the network was good for the best part. The first events though, well, the first one was great. PCC. Anyone can get this card. It's no paywall. If you know how to structure your deck, you can use PCC to get yourself an Undertaker or a Brock Lesnar card. PCC was a great idea. They followed that up, introduced Ring Domination. If you happen to be in Epic tier, an Ultra Rare tier, you got yourself that Undertaker, tough luck, because the next event was a Ring Domination, which, as you may or may not be aware, is tier limited. So if you were not in Legendary tier, tough luck, you didn't get yourself the Undertaker Pro, unless you wanted to spend hundreds of pounds on packs. On top of that, and this sounds scathing, but this is genuinely how bad it was, there were no details about how to level your cards. Everyone, well, mostly everyone knows nowadays that when you get a card, you train it, you level it up, you put it in your deck, and you use things like Road to Glory. You know to train the cards, put the tokens on them. There was no advice. No one knew if using the tokens would actually better your card, and there are people who were spending hundreds and hundreds of pounds on packs only to mispro their pros quite badly. No warnings. It was simply put, if you level up your cards badly, the joke's on you, pal. So a lot of players had to rely on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter pretty much to learn how to play the game. A massive oversight on Cat Daddy's part. But you know, 2 years is a long time, and it's come a long way since then. And with the introduction of Money in the Bank mode, and as well as no reset for Season 3, it kind of brought a lot of people's confidence back, that I can tell. Unfortunately, I will now never be able to hear the phrase, "Let's talk Monday," ever again, because I think something bad will happen if I hear those words again. Now I'll move on to Season 3. Now Season 3 is the start of PvP. It was the start of many new things for WWE SuperCard, some very good things, lots of anticipation, a completely brand new menu, which was effectively where this brand new menu, instead of the scroll up and down system, came from. The new pack store. Everything was brand new. And they had team events plus teams which you could set up from the get-go. It's a massive redesign of the game. There was brand new cards that looked like they were alive. They had the flames. You had brands like Raw, SmackDown, NXT. Yeah, it looked really good, and everyone was really excited about the PvP modes, the Royal Rumble modes, the card backs. It was looking very good. Incredibly promising. However, a lot of that anticipation very quickly turned to frustration when the game came out. First of all, and this is never a great way to start, if you didn't pro a card and you were on the verge of proing the card, let's say you got in your combinables, any training you had done to that card or cards for leveling it up and proing it, you had to now redo. In fact, every card that you currently had lost all of its ability and lost any training that was attached to the cards. On top of that, people were losing progress in the game, people were losing cards disappeared left, right and center, and for the most of it, no one did anything. It was kind of like, oh, we're just gonna wait for this to pass. It's not that great. Cards are missing and disappeared from the catalog. People who had worked hard to get Season 1 cards just disappeared out of nowhere. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Obviously, there was a huge problem with the game. Maybe that wasn't something that was designed to happen. We don't know. Then we had the ladder rewards fiasco. Oh boy, this was fun. So, ladder rewards. Nowadays, I can only praise how well this now looks. So if I go to my profile right now, I've now got a dedicated ladder page and achievement page that I can go into to claim my rewards. And you can only claim these when you are ready. So if you want to do it in your best possible tier, you need to wait until you get to that tier and then you can claim it afterwards. They added a couple of new ladder rewards into the game, so they gave everyone, yes, everyone who was transferring from Season 3 to Season 4, a ladder reward, which they didn't explain why or how you got that ladder reward, and everyone was confused as hell because it was based on your rank deck, not your... And there was a lot of people who didn't even play games. They just tried to get themselves up to the next tier using packs, using Money in the Bank, because Money in the Bank game does not register as a played game. They were using everything possible to push themselves as to elite tier, to get their freebies, to get elite ladder rewards, and they were met with these other cards, which weren't really what they were after in the first place. What I'm not saying is I'm complaining about free rewards. Free rewards are always a great thing, but the fact it was so poorly explained confused a lot of people, and there were several people who were not happy at all. In fact, certain people expected 3 or 4 ladder rewards because they explained that because they brought in so many new ladder rewards into the game, people were expecting 4 or 5 ladder rewards for their progress paid in Season 2 to Season 3, and were only rewarded 2 and were told then it was a loyalty bonus for everyone. Just imagine how pissed off everyone was. Excuse my language. There were also network errors everywhere because you were introducing a player versus player system. There was bound to be issues. Unfortunately, that doesn't always work out, especially where events are concerned, and most games do come out, and it is important to remember this, with network issues or internet issues. It's kind of how gaming's become. It's not just about the launch of the game. Season 4's perfect compared to what was happening then with the network errors. And then we have Ring Domination Goldberg. Remember what I said earlier on? You would have thought they would have learned. Yeah, they didn't. First week, they decided to put an event on which probably cost anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to get yourself to that tier, to Ultimate Tier. People weren't pleased because they could get access to the card later, but the fact that you had to do it in the first week was not that great, and a lot of people got very upset, even if the Goldberg card ended up being not that brilliant. People were pissed, and you could understand why, especially given it was a card that was as exciting, as wanted and anticipated as Goldberg, who had just made his return to the WWE after a crazy long exile. He's come back to WWE, he's been to an event, and you don't have access to him other than Money in the Bank for the next, like, 4 months. 5 months, 6 months actually. I think it was a throwback card or something. In fact, it was WrestleMania 33 tier the next time we saw Goldberg other than Money in the Bank. So you can imagine people who were old school WCW fans or just liked Bill Goldberg probably weren't best pleased. But the biggest issue is you could never actually get to that point without spending money. Why? Because the pulls didn't work. For the first 2 to 3 weeks, there were no pulls in Season 3. There was no hardened pulls, there was no elite pulls, ultimate pulls, you got your ladder rewards, but that was it. Nothing else. So unless you spent $500 plus, You couldn't get yourself the first event card even if you played 1,000 games a day. It was physically impossible to get that first Goldberg card without spending money. Even you could say it was possible to get the Gobbledygooker, although improbable, in Season 4. It was absolutely impossible without money to get yourself Bill Goldberg, because for the first 2 weeks, you could pull nothing. They did give everyone a free freebie afterwards, and did make up for it with some pretty awesome stuff, you know, in Season 3 that was great, like Team Battleground, for example, but that was possibly a glitch too far for some people. And of course, with PvP being introduced into the game, confusion over PCC, whether it's going to turn up, and then realizing that PCC had effectively been killed on the quiet, despite promises it was going to come back. It just all ended up being confusing as hell. Plus, they had lots of King of the Ring issues, people starting King of the Rings that finished in like 10 minutes or something crazy like that. And when teams got first introduced into the game, we got given the unlimited pull glitch, which was wonderful. Way to waste everyone's money. So you've just asked everyone to spend money to get Goldberg, and then the next moment you've got a glitch in the game that makes all that money worthless, because anyone in Ultimate Tier, their decks are now completely overshadowed by people who use that glitch, which is quite widespread. You can imagine why. Yeah, that happened. Now, I totally understand that I am coming across very critical, and I get that. But if we're looking at how bad Season 4 has really been, we have to look back at all the problems that the previous games had and compare them to another. The thing I'm not mentioning is the introduction of Team Battleground that made everyone so happy. The Fusion Chambers, which whilst the stats are a little bit on the low side, helps people go way further. The introduction of the open challenge packs. You've got the introduction of the team events, and you know, when you look back at it, you know, Season 1, Season 2 didn't really have anything that Season 4, Season 3 had. And yet, Season 4 has had its fair share of issues, I'm not going to lie. But in comparison, let's have a look. You might just be surprised. First of all, we had network errors on the first day. That's going to happen with an increasingly popular mobile game being played by millions around the world. You're going to have some problems with getting everyone on at the same time. But yes, there were network errors. You had Wild Mode, which had network errors. In fact, some people at one point, in fact in the last week, I believe there was one point you couldn't even play Wild Mode. It wouldn't allow you to play the game. It just stopped working. Plus, we've had maintenance issues pop up everywhere, waiting on networks everywhere. You know, in terms of the network, it's been hit and miss and a bit choppy, and that's not cool. But, you know, with a new game, everyone playing different modes at different times, you've got to actually think to yourself, it's not done too bad. People aren't able to start a King of the Ring. There was extensions to events without communication. There's extensions to PvP mode without any communication, and that unfortunately comes to the territory of releasing a game close to Thanksgiving, because people have families, you know, that kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is there should have been communication sent out. Eventually they did, but the communication effectively stopped. People stopped talking. It was like they were trying to bury their heads in the sand, which never comes across well, ever. I think there's enough evidence of SuperCard that just does not work. The community is a very passionate bunch. We've got a lot of very positively passionate people and a lot of people who are so passionate it sometimes detracts from being positive and moves into negativity. And there's a lot of people who will do some pretty questionable things because of this game. But you can't question the passion of those people. There were event delays. I've already mentioned about got the attitudes in the chat, which I'm going to be honest with you, might be one of the worst additions, because I can literally come in here now. Most people have started to calm down. There are times where I can just come in here and I can spam every single attitude under the sun, and that's going to pee off a lot of people. everyone, there's no spam filter on here, so people can literally go crazy. In fact, I once did on stream a woo raid on the global chat and ended up really annoying quite a lot. There we go. See, I've just started off a massive woo trade. Even though I'm not talking to them, I've just put a couple of emotes in here, and now I've started off everyone just using attitudes. Yeah. You also had something which has been fixed now, but war mode being turned off randomly, even though it got extended by 2 days, and then everyone's leaderboards going back down to 0. It's just like, that was gonna be the ticking time bomb. That was the moment, I think, where a lot of people snapped, because you have all this progression, 18,000 points just go down to nothing. Done. Gone. Bye. They did reset it, and a lot of people are still waiting on their points, but that did cause a lot of drama, a lot of problems, and people getting very angry, and rightly so, when you probably spent 5 days plus playing a game repetitively, religiously, which the game then turns around and says, sorry, you need to try harder. Not cool. Plus, we've had King of the Ring issues. Now, I'm in the King of the Ring now, and it works absolutely perfectly. However, I will tell you now that it hasn't always been this way. Oh, no. Well, it's not been this way until a couple of days ago, because at the beginning of this game, if you went into King of the Ring and you won, instead of getting incredible beast cards and monster cards and titan cards, you got given commons. Yes, I'm not joking, common cards. In fact, there was one King of the Ring where I entered, I got my rewards, and the reward was nothing. I won the King of the Ring, and I got nothing. I've been fixed as far as I'm aware, but that's a big issue. But otherwise, that's really been it. There's not really been any other, I mean, you could say the lack of a Black Friday, like a heavy Black Friday sale. You can't really ask for that though, so in reality, there wasn't actually that much, considering how much has been started from the beginning. You got a PvP system that is for the most part working, even though, you know, it's not as maybe refined as it should be. You got a wild mode that's completely brand new to the game. You obviously, it's the same mode but with different arenas, different animations. You got the new profile. You've got Team Ring Domination, a team event up within the first 2 weeks. You got Money in the Bank, which has had no problems despite being a completely new setup. The packs and the attitudes still work exactly the same. The catalog's there, although, yes, I will say this now, there should be an increased limit on the cards. Everything otherwise works. So it does beg the question, how broken is Season 4 when you compare it to Season 1, 2, and 3 at the start? And actually, if you compare it all together, it's probably the SuperCard in terms of gameplay with the least issues. If you're talking purely on network performance, being able to play the game, then you would probably have to go with Season 2, because it had next to no network issues. You had access to events which were, you know, kind of okay. You know, the pack prices were low as well, which was good at the time. But when you look at this from an overall perspective, Season 2 was a pretty awful move overall. So you can't really put Season 2 up there. I mean, Season 3 was just way over ambitious and ended up just with there just was not enough explanation about things, and it just ended up confusing everyone. People losing cars left, right, and centre is just not cool. You know, if Season 3 had gone the same way Season 4 had gone, I think most people would be happy, but it didn't, and it had a lot of issues. I'm looking at this from a different perspective and actually saying that Season 4 is actually a hell of a lot better. Now, whilst we shouldn't be applauding Cat Daddy or 2K for bringing out a game that does have issues, we do have to understand that there's no way of beta testing. There's no way of doing it. There are games internationally which have issues with the network. There are people, yes, who have had problems getting into the game, but overall the gameplay still works fine. There's no real big glitches that have been found as of yet. And if they have, they've been removed almost immediately from the game. So I think a lot of the negativity stems from previous problems that the game has had. And if you're looking purely as an overall package compared to Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3, I'd say Season 4 is probably the best launch. It's probably the best of a bad bunch. Yes, it shouldn't be happening, but when so many people are playing games nowadays, especially on a mobile format, you are going to have problems. So all in all, people in the comment section are going to say, oh, JB's just saying that because he works with Cat Daddy. Trust me, if I was working with Cat Daddy, I wouldn't be able to say half the stuff I've just told you. Half the things that I've said, I wouldn't be able to say. I'm a content creator, just like many other people, a player, just like you guys. I see the same things and I get frustrated too. I was so livid and angry about the King of the Ring issue and the war issue. I was close to just stop playing for at least a day or two. So, yes, it does have problems. But in the grand scheme of things, compared to Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3, Season 4 is miles better. But maybe when you look back at it like this, it becomes a little bit clearer. But that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed this. It's a little bit long-winded. There's a lot of detail to go through. You also got to go see a lot of old school Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3 footage, which is always cool to look back at things. If you've got your own opinion, please put it in the comment section below, as long or as short. You may just say, JB, you're wrong, JB, you're right. You know, I don't want to be wrong or right, I'm just giving my opinion on things. And as far as I'm concerned, Season 4 so far it's alright. It's getting there. We need new events, but it's getting there. Although I still would have started with RTG first instead of a ring domination. Putting a paywall up for any event is never going to go down well with people. If you like what you see in this video, smash that thumbs up button. Also make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Whilst you're there, I've been SuperZombGBBQ, and one last thing, and that is to Sonic! Just became lol.